Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our webinar on captivating your audience. This is presented by viaLearning, and today we have an interesting topic to talk about using Captivate to help shorten course development, to talk about some of the customization features of Captivate, and to comparison between Captivate and Articulate. My name is Scott Herber, and I'll be moderating today. And if you'll notice on your screen, you should be able to hear us, and you should also on the panel on your GoToMeeting webinar panel, you should be able to ask questions if you like. Please do if you have questions that come up during today's webinar. You have a chat function or a question function. Feel free to ask questions, and we'll be glad to answer those individually if they're for the individual, or even back to the group for everyone. We will have questions throughout. We will also have some questions at time left at the end of the webinar. And we also will be recording this for those of you who would like to play it back for other members of your team or people who couldn't be here today. So with that, my name is Scott Herber. I've got with me two people. I've got Julie Brink, who is our Director of E-Learning.
Good morning and good afternoon.
And I've got Erhan, and I'm going to let Erhan say his own last name because I butcher it every time.
And that's Ergenekan. Good to be here.
And Erhan is our Development Director and our technical person on the team. So with that, I will get us started today with today's agenda. So today you're going to walk away with how Captivate can shorten your e-learning course development cycle. We'll talk in pretty good detail about that. We recognize that we're going into some pretty broad categories, so we'll try to keep it to the point and keep on track, and sometimes we'll have to speak a little bit quickly to get everything out. But that's one of the goals. The other goal is the customization technique, so how you can actually customize and captivate your audience. A nice play on words there by Julie. Thirdly, comparisons between Captivate and Articulate. And finally, we will have a Q&A session. Okay, to start with, what is Captivate?
Well, for those of you who may not know, Captivate is a rapid development tool that helps you create, deliver, and maintain your e-learning courseware. You can do this with your e-learning content by creating software demonstrations, which actually is what Captivate is best known for, is software simulations. Also interactive elements. It's great with branching scenarios and questions and quizzes. So Captivate's a great tool to use if you don't have a programmer on staff or if you don't want to use a programmer for whatever reason.
And also, one of the things I'd like to do is just to kind of set the stage. For those of you on the screen, we actually have the ability to actually do some polls during the session. And what I'm going to ask is, how many of you in your organization have actually used Captivate as a tool? So if you could actually respond back, if you can look on the screen, you should be able to see right now. It should be launching here in just a second. Give me just a second. You should be able to see whether or not you use Captivate. And as you can see on the screen, 86% of you have said yes so far.
Well, how are you supposed to hear? Like, I have my headphones.
So it sounds like we've got some back chatter, so give us 1 second. We'll try to clear that up. There we go. Sorry about that. So if I look at the poll question, the interesting part of the poll is about 87% of you have actually used the polls, or excuse me, have used Captivate to go through. And if you can see on the screen today, that's the majority of the folks on the phone. So that should help us with the webinar just to know who we're talking to, Julie and Erhan.
Great.
And we from there will continue back and go back to talking about what it is. So let's talk about what that means then. So since most of our audience here is familiar with Captivate, maybe not the newest version of Captivate, but at least Captivate in general.
So a lot of what we're going to be talking about today is how Captivate can help and the improvements made with Captivate 5. As many of you may know, Captivate has been around for quite a while, but Captivate 5 has shown some great improved efficiency. It can help shorten your course development cycle, and which is how long it takes for a course to be built. And it can also give you some additional enhanced flexibility and new and improved online review tools. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. So the first piece is we're going to discuss the shorter development cycle. So one way that you can decrease your course development time is that there is now no need for custom Flash animations for software simulations. So Erhan, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. If any of you have worked in Flash before to create a software simulation, basically trying to demonstrate how a software or application works, it can be pretty painful. You're going to have to create a lot of different layers, a lot of symbols, and then you're going to have to tween these inside Flash, and it can get pretty tedious. You're going to have a lot of layers, and it just can become overwhelming. If you look at the image here, you'll see that there's just quite a few layers there. You'll look at the stage, you'll see a lot of different text fields that you've had to build up. So it can be time-consuming. But with Captivate, you can it'll automatically record your actions. So rather than creating them, you're going to record them, and you're just actually going to do the action itself. The clicking of the button, the drop-down menu, and then it'll record it for you and organize it by slides and throw it onto a timeline automatically for you. It's really, really a great time saver.
So the big difference is with Flash, you actually have to go into a number of layers of detail, whereas within Captivate, you can actually just use it more from an icon standpoint, make it simplistic, and it'll automatically put the timings in place. Is that right?
Yeah, it will basically record your motion. So rather than tweening that in Flash, like creating a keyframe, inserting a tween, and then moving that symbol to where you want it to go, you just have to record it in Captivate, and it'll automatically build up the animation for you. So rather than 30 layers in Flash, you'd have maybe a few layers in Captivate, and it kind of organizes it for you as well.
So obviously, if you're switching from Flash to Captivate, it makes it more streamlined and a little bit more user-friendly and less programming-like, if that's the case.
Very, very much so.
Correct. And
Okay.
Captivate's used screen recording for a long time. That's what it's known for.
Yes.
So this isn't a new feature of Captivate, but Captivate 5, I think, has made it even a little bit easier and more seamless.
Yeah, they've really improved the interface. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Great.
So let's talk about some of the shorter development, so between multiple. So can you talk a little bit about that?
You bet. So there has been some improved efficiency workflow systems between the multiple Adobe products with Captivate 5, particularly with PowerPoint round tripping. So the user or developer is then alerted when the source PowerPoint is updated so that they know that the Captivate needs to be updated immediately as well. That really saves a lot of time and also makes sure that your content is the most up-to-date as it could be. Also, the audio editor is improved, and audio is not my forte, so Erhan, can you maybe tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, well, if you actually have purchased the e-learning suite, you're going to have the functionality of edit with Adobe Sound Booth. So this will allow you, when you're in the timeline and you click on the sound object in Captivate, you'll get this dialog box, and you can go right to Adobe Sound Booth and edit it if you'd like. You can also do an SWF preview, which is a nice feature so that you can kind of see the animation with the sound.
What's SWF?
SWF is just basically, well, everything gets exported as an SWF from Flash or from Captivate, so you can actually view this animation, the Captivate animation, which is kind of your end file format.
Got it. Okay.
Great. One of the other improvements and leading to a shorter development cycle is the animation presets that Captivate now has. So can you tell us a little bit more about those, and what's the value of the presets that they've created for Captivate 5?
Well, they've got a set of them. You can basically kind of add these as you need to your objects inside Captivate, and it's all there on a drop-down from the effects button.
Point where you want me to point on your slide there.
Right here on the motion path, you'll see that there's a left to right ease, a left to right.
Yeah.
So these are just basically, you add those, and then you'll see your object move from left to right. And if you have one with ease, it'll kind of slow down. If you have it just left to right, it'll go straight without an easing effect.
Got it.
So basically, it allows you to build up animations a little bit quicker. In Flash or other program, you might have to keyframe that. You'd have to take your symbol from one spot to another, and then add, physically move it, and then put in a tween. So it just takes a little bit longer. And in PowerPoint, it's a little bit harder to do as well. So
this is a huge time saver then for developers, I would imagine. And much
absolutely.
easier, since I'm not a developer, it'd be a lot easier for me to do this than to tween.
Absolutely. As long as you're not getting into really complex animations and you're kind of building up some quick, projects, this is perfect. I think it's going to save you time.
But if you did have a complex Flash animation, you could pull that into Captivate, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So you could build it up in Flash and then import that onto your stage in Captivate.
All right. Excellent. Thank you. Also, the interface in Captivate 5 is much more similar to Flash than in previous versions. So if you're familiar with Flash, then this could be a pretty simple thing for you to operate, I would imagine.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's pretty simple. You've got properties in Flash, and now you have properties in Captivate and a library. You've always had a library in Captivate, at least 4, but now with 5, it looks similar to Flash.
So right now on our Flash screen here, Erhan, can you call out maybe what would be different between Flash or similar between Captivate and Flash, and then we can go to the Captivate screen?
Yeah, okay. Well, if you look at Flash here, you've got your properties panel, and then there's just basically the info related to generally an object you'll click on the stage in Captivate or in Flash.
Okay.
So that's here. You click a symbol, and you get this display of all your your information about that object.
The position in the view, where it is,
yeah.
everything.
Yeah,
okay.
and yeah, basically, yeah, exactly. And then
with Captivate,
and then if you look at the Captivate side, then
you'll see it looks almost identical. I mean, it's very similar. And here again, you've got your information on that particular object. In this case, it's a caption box. You've got the caption type. Screen call-out type, so you can quickly change it here, which is just great, because normally you had to double-click that icon, wait for a dialog box to appear. Now you just click it, and it automatically appears on the right side. So I mean, it's really fantastic.
Great.
So they've actually taken the way of using, if you're familiar with Flash, navigating through Captivate is going to be a fairly straightforward process, and in most cases a lot easier from a linear thinking standpoint. You don't have to worry about as many layers, and it's more drag and drop.
Yeah. I mean, it's right there for you, and it's really
easy to understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we've talked about shortening the development cycle a bit. Now we're going to talk about some of the features of Captivate's enhanced flexibility. So as we've mentioned a few times, Captivate's been known for screen recording and also branching capabilities. So we're going to talk about branching first.
Okay.
Branching, as many of you know, means that the path a learner takes when going through an e-learning course is based upon how they respond to certain questions or scenarios or options or answers or something like that. The benefit of branching in Captivate is that the person developing in Captivate can see all of the slides at a glance and know exactly what path the learner is going through. In Articulate, they do have some capability to jump from slide to slide, but it's a little bit more clunky and not quite as clear, and when you're developing it, it's just much more challenging. So it's great to be able to see the actual branches and paths that you will be taking throughout the course when you're developing in Captivate.
Okay.
And then, as we've mentioned, screen recording is a fantastic tool in Captivate. We've got another image here of screen recording, so maybe we can talk about how that would be done. Yeah,
well, this is basically your screen recording interface that you'll open before you start capturing a simulation. So basically, you have a drop-down here at the top. In this case, I have an Adobe Photoshop CS4. I had that open.
Yep.
I chose that as my window, and then you can kind of choose to snap to the window, and that will force the application you're attempting to record to go to your specific size that you've determined in Captivate. So, if you have a 640 by 480 target, it will force Photoshop to shrink to that size. So that's a nice feature.
So it automatically fits for it, and then you can adjust accordingly to the recording type that you want as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, and so exactly, and basically you've got in the next box you've got the types of recording you would want to do, an automatic, a full motion, and a manual, and those are basically just kind of different ways to record. You may choose those depending on what you're going to do. Sometimes full motion is good if you're going to be doing a lot of scrolling.
Mm-hmm.
It will do a better job of capturing that motion. It can be a little choppy if you set up for the automatic. These are things you probably come across, or you will come across if you do some recording. There's just you'll get down your own style, and and how you want to do it and what works best.
Well, and also from a capacity standpoint, too, you've got to take in mind sort of the bandwidth issue, right? Because I'm sure automatic is going to have a smaller footprint, whereas full motion
absolutely is going to be a lot larger. You're going to have more frames.
Right.
It looks better, but there's a trade-off certainly. You're going to have just a lot more information that that the end user will have to download.
So your size of your file is going to go up dramatically if you go from automatic to full motion.
Absolutely, yeah.
And you have to plan for that according to the bandwidth capabilities of your audience, of your learners.
But give you consideration.
But keep in mind though, the full motion still will be a little bit lower than like a video per se. Like if you were to capture video, there's still some features built into Captivate to make sure that it's really only updating what's changing. So again, like you're scrolling, everything's changing. You're going to have a lot of information there, a lot of frames. But if you're still just kind of moving your mouse across, it does do a good job of recognizing that.
Okay. So automatic is the lightest, full motion's up more, but it's still, in comparison, still going to be less than video.
Yes.
If you had video, embedded video. Got it.
And then manual, you actually will click the print screen as you're moving, so you can kind of control each frame. So that's an interesting, and you'll find a use for that, depending on what the need is.
You can go all the way to your Will Vinton studio of screen every inch movement. Excellent. Okay.
Great. All right. Well, one other flexibility tool in Captivate are the built-in quiz-making tools. So there are predetermined templates that you can select in Captivate, and you can decide how many questions are going to be multiple choice or true-false or matching or hotspot or sequencing or whatever it is you want to make your quiz look like and how you want it to function. You can set those templates, and they're all ready to go. You just have to populate with the content, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Excellent.
Here you'll see the screen here is the first screen you get when you start to build up your quizzes. And a new feature to 5 is you're actually able to do more than one quiz at a time. Before it was one quiz and you'd have to build that. Now you can set it in the field box there. You can put 5 quizzes of multiple choice, 3 of a short answer. You can determine if it's graded or survey. And that's a really nice improvement, being able to do.
So the biggest advantage is to be able to do multiple at one time instead of doing it one, come back to another one, come back to another one. That's got to be a huge time saver.
Yeah. So folks at Adobe really came through on that one.
Great. And it helps keep the learning fresh too. Keep the learner on their toes.
So here's an example, Erhan, of multiple choice.
So yeah, once you hit OK on that previous dialog box, it will build out all your slides with the questions on it, and then you can go through and fill in your content. And
Great.
It's pretty straightforward there, I think, but it's really nicely organized.
Yeah, that makes it a lot easier than, especially when you can do it together.
Yeah.
And there are a couple new features in Captivate 5 that are pretty exciting, I think, in terms of the Captivate 4 and previous versions. So one new feature would be you have the capacity to make master slides and create them so you can maintain smooth style and look and feel throughout the Captivate presentation. And then also master objects, your call-out boxes, speech bubbles, and whatnot. Those styles can be predefined, so you don't have to create new ones every time you go through into each screen. Is that right?
You don't have to create new ones, and you can really easily modify them. If there's like a global change you'd like to make, a client wants to see the box red instead of green, well, there you go. You just go to the object, and you can change it globally. So you don't have to go to each screen or each slide and change it manually. So that's a great thing. And master slides as well. If you're familiar with PowerPoint and the master slides there, that's pretty straightforward. You've got a slide that represents the global slide. Like if you want your title to appear on every slide, you put it into the master slide, and there you go. It's going to appear on every screen. And it's a really nice feature.
So they have done a nice, especially over traditional Flash. That's made nice advantages over what you would do in Flash and over the previous versions both.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great.
And the next screen here, you'll see an example. I put in a title here. Here is your master slide. So now and if you look to the left, you'll see the 2 slides there. They both have that title. Here's the master slide. So if you change it on the master slide, it'll change on both slides. So
great.
So one of the questions that came up here is, can the master slides be applied to quiz questions? Do you know the answer to that?
I do not know the answer to that.
Okay, we'll find out the answer to that one. Somebody asked, it was an issue with the previous version. You apply it to multiple things. So we'll find out the answer to that one for you guys too. Okay?
Great. And one feature in Captivate, which this is not a new feature to Captivate, but it is a really good time saver, is online review tools. So you have the Captivate Reviewer allows your reviewers to take notes and place notes on the actual course screens that they want to make a change to, so that the developer or person making the changes can easily see exactly what screen they're referring to. And then other reviewers can make a note on that same screen and either agree with it, disagree with it, or make their own commentary about it. And then everybody can see it, and you can know exactly what needs to happen. And what is good, too, is a concern sometimes would be that not everybody has Captivate on their machine. However, a reviewer doesn't need to have Captivate in order to make these notes. So it really shortens the review cycle and the ability to get concise, clear content about where things need to change when you're reviewing a course.
Nice.
I know this comes up with our clients, so
yeah,
it's a great feature.
Especially if you can incorporate the reviewers all in one area so they can all make feedback and see what others are feedbacking on as well.
So here's what it looks like.
So you can see.
That's the comment box right there. So the client's gone in and made a comment about it. So video looks great, but move it. So you can easily see what they would like to have happen.
And yeah, as long as you don't get the snowballing where all your reviewers start to jump on each other's bandwagon. But
that's right. That's a different issue.
That's a different issue completely that you have. But that's actually nice though. So you can they can make quick comments, they can view on top of each other, and you can specifically get their feedback and crank through it.
That's right.
Good. Okay.
So we're going to talk next about how we can captivate your audience. And the first thing you can do is work with the interface. So you can do some customizable items with the interface in Captivate. You can reskin the shell a little bit more easily than in Articulate, move things around, flash widgets.
Yeah, if you're familiar with Flash, there's a lot you can do with the interface. And you can move buttons around. You're going to need to know some level of action script. But if you do, like maybe have a fair understanding of it, you can do a lot. You can reskin the buttons is probably the easiest, and moving around is a little more difficult. You have to use the code for that.
Sure.
It's pretty cool. I mean, it will save you some time, and you can really make the look match what your client is after.
Perfect. So you can, like we just talked about, you can customize the course shell, which is a great way to help your learners think that they're not in a rapid developed tool course, that they're in a custom course. So we're going to look at an example here really quick of something we did for one of our clients. So you can see we've customized the buttons in the upper right corner for the course objectives, glossary, resources section, and then also the navigation buttons down on the bottom. So they can move forward, back, replay, the menu, closed captioning. All of those buttons are custom for this particular client. You would not know that this is a Captivate course. So it's nice to be able to customize it and brand it to your own company and client-specific liking. Not that the standard Captivate shell is poor by any stretch of the imagination, but branding is a great thing, and it helps.
And we've got
sell your message.
And you can see some here too on the upper left-hand corner of the screen. You can see where you've put some things on the slide on the master view, so that you don't have to repeat it every time. You just put it in the course, and it makes it easier, just like you would in a PowerPoint presentation, to actually do it that way.
Erhan's going to talk a little bit here, a little more technical about actually doing the Flash elements and customizing the shell. Is that right, Erhan?
Yeah. Well, let's go to the next screen here. This is what you'll see if you open up one of the Captivate templates, the FLA. So they come with a preset set of templates. This one's called Dark Chocolate. And it's just basically all the buttons that are used in the interface. You've got your progress bar. And from here, you can actually start to customize it. So if you go to the next screen, you can kind of see what a customized version of this same FLA would look like. So I basically go into each button and add the new skin, the new JPEG, and then I can kind of control the position here with action script. Now that's a little more difficult, but you put it on a frame and then you can kind of position where you want those buttons to appear, and that's a little bit more time consuming, but it does it is pretty good. I mean,
great way to make it your own.
Yeah.
And is this using action script available in Captivate? Is that what you're using to do this?
In this, we're actually in Flash, so we'll be using Flash action script to position the buttons. You can reskin it without the action script, but if you want to reposition them or even add new buttons. For example, if you look at the top here, I've got a home, library, facility. Those are buttons that are not part of the standard template shell. So I've added those, and those will now appear in the interface where I position them. I have them close down here, but when I export it and they appear in Captivate, it's up in the upper right-hand corner, at a certain distance away that I've set in the action script. And then in the action script, I actually have a get URL function, which assigned to these, so that'll actually open up another section, another Captivate project.
Got it.
And that's something with a little bit of knowledge of action script, you'll be able to really customize these shells and add quite a bit of functionality to them.
Okay.
So Captivate really, while you can customize it in this way, you do need to have that level of knowledge in order to do that. But it's somewhat easy to import into Captivate and implement. Is that
well,
right?
once you've got this Flash FLA set up how you want it, you basically export it to the template folder, and then you go over to Captivate and open up your screen and select the new template from the drop-down list, and it will now appear once it's in the folder, and you can see your change right there inside Captivate. And then it's a little bit of going back and forth between Flash and Captivate, but it's worth it. I think you can get a look that's closer maybe to what your client's after.
Great.
So if you're not a Flash expert, you can do it within Captivate and use most of the skins that are there. Is that kind of it?
Yeah, you could, and there's a good level of control for color and look and feel. So you can get something that's pretty close to maybe to what you're after. But if you really want that specific look, maybe a client has a set of buttons that styles that they already have.
Got it.
You can get those in there through Flash, and it's not so bad. I mean, if you're not going to reposition them, it's a lot easier. It's not so bad. You can just go into the button, swap out the image with your new image, and that's it. Repositioning, then you got to get into the action script a little bit more and adding new buttons.
Great.
Okay.
Good.
All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about the Twitter widget.
So Captivate now allows you to tweet while you're taking a course. So this is really going full bore into the social aspect with e-learning. So when you're in a Captivate course, you can tweet about that course. So a learner, can post questions while they're taking a course, and then when that question is answered by another follower of the course, an alert appears in their Captivate window when they're in the course to let the learner know that the question's been answered or the comment has been responded to. And this chain of messages and comments that has started appears after the user logs into the course again and again and again. So they'll always continually have access to it. This is great because, as we all know, increasing the social aspect of learning really helps reaffirm the learning objectives and the knowledge that somebody has gained.
And even though we hear a lot of people talking about this, and it seems like the adoption's not quite as heavy as the discussions are yet. We're seeing a lot of trends and people testing out the adoption of social media within these. And then to your point, it does really increase the experience and visibility from a user standpoint, from a learner perspective. So we're going to see nothing but more of that as time goes on.
I'm excited to try it and see what some of the outcomes, the statistical data are around using the Twitter widget in Captivate. I think that'll be fantastic to see. So it would be a benefit because the learner gets more out of the course, like we said, because they're interacting with it more. And it helps them stay engaged. They might take the course on Monday, but then somebody tweets back to them on Thursday, and they go back in, they see it, and then they have to really think about what it was that they were reviewing, and it just reaffirms what knowledge they have gained. And that's really how you learn, is you do it.
Well, and plus it encourages the interactivity because having other learners or peers into the Twitter widget will create a response and put it at the front of mind. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So
keeps the collaboration going. So, and here's an example of it. You can see this short little back and forth. So Alice asked a question, and Jana answered it, and then Alice got back to her. So just really, brief example of what it would look like when you were in a course.
So again, from the user's perspective, it's an unformatted way for them to interact with it.
Yeah.
Got it. Well, let's talk about the animation side on the custom animation filtering, if I can say that.
It sounds pretty cool. I don't know much about it. So, Erhan, I'm going to toss this over to you. Talk about from the development perspective.
Yeah. Well, now, if you would like to, get into customizing your objects in Captivate, there's some new features there for that. You've got, again, you'd go to your effects button, and you can add them there. You can add things like a drop shadow. If you look in the bottom right, you've got just a shadow there. You can add. It's all there on the from the menu, which is great because normally you might have to bring that in from Photoshop, or save it out as from Photoshop and then import it. There's outer glows, which if you go to your upper right-hand corner there,
yep.
There's and you can change the quality and the color and do a couple different things there, and you've got this all in your panel there, in your properties panel to the left. You can add a blur, so if you were going to have something come in from the right, using your motion, your preset motion, you could also add a blur to it, so that it looks like it's coming in a little quicker. Just kind of spice up the look and feel of the project.
Great.
So this is where you could spend a lot of time tweaking it and kind of getting the perfection feel to it, from how it's animated to the blur to the different way the triggers affect, right?
Absolutely, and it's easy. It's not as bad as like Flash. If you don't have a good knowledge of timeline-based animation, you can kind of set it up here through your panel. So it's a lot easier. They made it easier for the user to kind of get in and start changing things and
nice.
adding functionality.
Just make sure your project manager doesn't get on you about how much time you're spending.
Yeah. Get caught up in the details.
Yeah, that's why I was sort of saying tongue-in-cheek, you could spend a lot of time tweaking the glow color and the blur effects, and it may not have a huge impact, but so you've got to be careful on getting caught there. Well, so I think one of the things we want to talk about was localization, but before that, let me throw out one of the poll questions we had here on localization.
Believe it or not, Captivate 5 does a really good job of localization now. I think it did fine before, but they've improved the functionality for localization. So we wanted to ask you guys a question about it.
Yeah, so how many are currently, how many of you currently translate your courses? Yes, currently. No, but we plan on it. We don't plan on it. We had, obviously, via viaLearning and viaLanguage, the parent company, we do a lot of localization in the world and end up doing a lot of translating. And it creates some really interesting dynamics, not only having the capability to do the localization, but sort of the planning for it. And localization has a number of challenges, as we know, in terms of the footprint required. You've got some very simplistic issues that create problems, like text expansion, where so many words in English, 100 words in English would be 125 in Spanish. So you've got some trade-offs that you have to make if you know you're going to localize something. And from an audience perspective, I'm going to close out the poll here, which is just interesting. I'll share the results. About 41% of you don't. About 21% actually do, and 23 plan on it, and 21 don't. So we've got pretty much your distribution across the board of yes and no's. So it creates an interesting dynamic. I think what we see within our clients is the courses that we talk about, Julie, it's almost the same split. Some of the courses, they're going to be English only.
Yep.
Some will be, they don't have a plan to. Some they do. So it's kind of all across the board, even within an organization for what you're developing.
Yeah, your market changes pretty quickly. You might be doing just English now, but soon we'll all have to localize everything into Spanish for our Spanish-speaking employees or audiences. So
yeah, it definitely depends on the market.
Example, yeah. So Captivate 5 has really improved the localization ability to localize more easily in this tool. So you can easily export the on-screen text into an XML file for actual translation and localization. And then the text boxes is an even better function now, I think, Erhan, than in previous versions of Captivate,
Correct.
right?
Yeah, you bring in your new localized text, and you'll have your field automatically increase in size. You may still have to go through and kind of reposition those boxes, but you do not have to expand those boxes. So that's a huge time saver.
So when you're going from 100 English words to 125 localized words, it really will save you a lot of time.
Yeah, and potentially if you planned ahead and just expected the expansion, you might not have to go and do anything. So theoretically, it's
Yeah, because especially with certain languages, it may not even be the number of words, but the length of the word may be longer, right? If you're going into German, for example, it may have 12 characters instead of 4, right? So the size of your footprint is going to increase, and the auto sizing within reason obviously can really help speed up that process.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. And then, as we mentioned, the online review tool before, this will really be a great resource for your linguists or in-country reviewers to use. They can just go in, make an exact comment on that actual slide, and you're good to go. Really decrease the QA and online review cycle.
Right. It tends to be one of just in both the English content development and the translation, the review cycles tend to be difficult because the reviewers, are rarely waiting sitting doing nothing for that review cycle. We're actually trying to squeeze cycles out of them.
Yep. So we're going to look at an example of when you're exporting and converting your XML here real quick for those more technically minded.
This is a general XML document with your tags. You've got, one side you'll have English, the other side is,
Chinese.
Chinese.
So, yeah, this is the Chinese version, so if you look at it, yeah.
Okay, so, you've got this is kind of similar to how it would come out of Captivate. You export an XML, send that XML off to a translator, and you'll get back your translated document, and then you just import back into Captivate, and it'll automatically update your fields and your buttons.
That's great, because you can definitely tell that some of the fields are longer because of the language.
Right.
But it looks like it's pretty seamless.
Yeah.
As far as the XML goes, you can just import it right back in and have fewer errors.
Yeah, and just looking at this, actually, that's Japanese on the screen. I think I said Chinese, so I apologize. So,
go, Scott.
I know. It's the small print. It's my age. I will claim that one on my file, so apologize for those. If anybody out there actually reads Japanese, they're going to be laughing at me right now. So, okay, well, so talk a little bit about branching, kind of switch gears back to the branching side.
So
then.
we talked about that a little bit more, but, as we mentioned, it's a great tool in Captivate is the branching capabilities. So you can create question slides and specify different paths for right or wrong answers. That's the way you can add branching to your Captivate course. You can also add click boxes and choose different paths. So if they click one box or inside of the box or outside of the box, it will determine where they go next. Same thing with text entry boxes. If they enter the text correctly, they would get sent on one path. If they enter it incorrectly, they get sent on another. This is a great way to simulate data entry, really. And then you can even add buttons or create different paths for when they click a different button or the wrong button or the right button, and you can just do a variety of different ways to branch. And the Captivate files, will then adapt themselves to react to the learner's responses. So if they fail a quiz, then you can actually go back to that section in the course to learn more about that topic, or you can then just retake that quiz later. So.
Nice.
The branching capabilities in Captivate are good, and because they're all pre-programmed and more easily programmed, then you don't have to do so much Flash work with it.
Yeah.
Branching in Flash can be a little bit time-consuming.
And is that changed quite a bit from 4 to 5, Erhan? Or is it's just more enhancements?
I think there's a few more enhancements.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Captivate's always done a really great job with the branching capabilities, but it's certainly, like the new product overall, Captivate 5 has streamlined things and made it a little more efficient.
Well, let's switch and talk a little bit about the Captivate comparison, just because we get a lot of questions on Captivate and Articulate, and what what are the benefits between the two, and both of them obviously are platforms for rapid development. Yep. When we talk about Captivate, why don't we walk through some of the things that are benefits for it?
Sure. So the interface, as we've talked about, is similar to the Adobe Creative Suite. So if you use that, then you will know it. You can open multiple files at one time. The PowerPoint round tripping is fantastic. It's much better than it used to be, and it's just a great way to keep your content up to date. You can track the user scores without an LMS. That is a new feature to 5, I believe. Is that right, Erhan?
Yeah. There's a.
You can take a course in Captivate that have it tracked, but not necessarily go back to an LMS. So
yeah.
The learner gets the impression that they're getting tracked and graded when they may or may not be. You can insert the quizzes all at once. Better apply to all functionality than Captivate 4. That has to do with the master slides and objects and whatnot. Is that right?
Yeah, well, actually, apply to all never really worked right in Captivate 4. It was a little buggy. It's been fixed now.
Great.
And now, theoretically, you could use the master objects to apply and all to all your boxes and your buttons.
Great.
So, Julie, talking about round tripping, what is round tripping?
Round tripping is when you make an update or a change to a source file, and then it makes the change in Captivate or alerts you that the change needs to be made in Captivate.
Yeah, and basically, that round tripping can apply to PowerPoint or to any external object. Again, the sound object. You have it in Captivate. You could go to Sound Booth, make a change, and then come back. So it's kind of that round trip. That trip to another program and then back again. So, like with PowerPoint, you can make a change and then
change will automatically come into the Captivate
yeah,
file?
and it updates it in the PowerPoint and in the Captivate. You don't actually have to go to another program in this case either. It opens it up inside the Captivate window, in particular with PowerPoint.
I got it. So if you're more familiar with PowerPoint, you may make a change to update something in PowerPoint, and then it round trips it right back into the Captivate program.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep,
Got it.
that's correct.
I think that was one of the questions, so hopefully that answers your question. And then you have a better apply to all functionality.
Yep, that's what we were just talking about, how it didn't really work in version 4, and now it does.
Yep.
So, and then the integration of Twitter to Captivate 5, and then just the enhanced branching functionality. Now, these are all things that are specific to Captivate. Articulate does have some of these features, but they also have a couple things that are different, like drag and drop functionality. Captivate does not yet have drag and drop functionality.
It does not have that built in.
And Articulate, because it has a PowerPoint interface rather than an Adobe or Creative Suite interface, for those of you that are more comfortable in PowerPoint, it might be a different option for you to try. It doesn't have the software simulation or screen capturing, however, so that would need to be created with Flash and imported into the PowerPoint, or just done through a series of animated images.
Or with Captivate.
Or with Captivate.
So you use Captivate to
Put
work
it in
Articulate. Could do. Okay.
And like we mentioned before, branching is pretty limited and not very user-friendly in Articulate. So.
Got it.
They both have their features and benefits, and it's really up to whoever is using it and the ultimate goals in order to determine which is the best product.
Great. Well, so let me see if I can just quickly, I think in summary, I think that, Captivate certainly can show some shorter course development cycles. I think that, the customization features, including the branching and the customizable interface and some of the social media work that they've done, makes it a really interesting tool of choice for those rapid development opportunities. Obviously, there's limitations in any rapid development where you have to make some trade-offs versus a custom, which we see all sides, whether it's rapid or custom, and trying to get the turnaround time quickly and the development cycle is down. You're going to have a few trade-offs, but this obviously has some key benefits for both. And then Captivate and Articulate. I mean, the big issue that seems to jump out is, the Articulate does have nice drag and drop functionality, which is nice, but Captivate has benefits on tracking and probably the interface is very similar if you're used to the Adobe project.
And reskinning the shell a lot easier in Captivate than Articulate.
So we have a couple of moments here. We're going to see if we can answer a couple of the questions that have come out through sides. Some of these we may not have all the answers to and have to get back to individuals, but I'm going to throw Julie and Erhan a couple of quick ones here. In the master slides, can you use and apply it to different parts of the project? So can you set up a master for a section? Erhan is thinking on this.
I have not done that. I believe so. You can have multiple master slides.
And then you just select per screen.
Yeah.
So you just apply master by section. So you could have part 1, master slide 1, part 2.
I think so.
Yeah.
So the answer is yes, we've not done it. We'll have to come back. And I'm not sure how many masters, so we can probably find out the answer to that one specifically and back. Other questions we had were, looking on the screen here, what about inserting outside video into Captivate? Is it a smooth process? Is it fairly straightforward, Erhan?
The issue with inserting outside video into Captivate is it would make the file size really big, and you could have bandwidth issues and performance issues from the learner's perspective, because unless it's very small or terribly compressed, then it would be not quite as user-friendly.
But theoretically, you could bring it in, and play it.
Yeah, you can put any video into any type of SWIFT file.
Okay.
That's ultimately what Captivate is a SWIFT.
It outputs a SWIFT,
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. And then is there any idea on the difference in time it takes to do the old version versus the new? I mean, does it streamline effectively?
Adobe is reporting that it takes about 30% less time with 5 than it does with 4. And from the work that we've done between the two, I would say that that's a pretty accurate statement. It certainly depends on the project itself, but 30% time savings is pretty significant.
Right. especially when you're talking about rapid,
Right.
right? And you're trying to get them out quickly, so that extra 30% timeline. And I imagine a big piece of that is going to be due to just the way that they've streamlined sort of the front-end pieces.
Yeah.
Is that where most of the savings comes from, Erhan?
And the interface, yeah. So like normally you'd have to click on an object and wait for a dialog box to appear. Now you just select it, click, so one click, look over to the right, see or wherever you have your property panel, and then you can make your changes right there. So you don't a lot less waiting.
Fewer clicks, saves time.
Okay. Well, in the sake of time, I'm going to wrap up for today. We've got a couple other questions from folks online that, well, if you can hang on, I'll have Erhan or Julie ping back individual answers to. And we will have this posted on the website, so anybody who wants to download this has questions. And obviously, our contact information is on here as well. So if anybody has a specific question that they want to ask, or if there's something that we didn't get a chance to review on this that they'd like more information on, feel free to send us an email at info@viaLearning, or check out the viaLearning.com blog, where we'll happily answer theirs as well. So thanks very much to Julie. Thanks to Erhan. Thanks to everybody for joining us today. And for those who have questions, we'll try to get back to you right away. And Julie said one more. Nope, that was it. She was writing down blog posts, so I want to make sure I did what I was told here. So, all right, thanks, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the webinar, and we look forward to talking to everyone again.